Hello class, welcome to 3.2, Solve Percent Applications. We look at three objectives here: translate and solve basic percent equations, solve percent applications, and solve simple interest applications. Let's look at the first problem. 250% of 65 is what number? In this problem, we will have to translate word to word. So 250%, make sure that you convert it to a decimal. So the decimal point is in the rightmost end. And so when you move two places to the left, it becomes 2.50, right? And the word of means multiplication. I use a dot. 65 is 65. The word is means equals. And what number is what we're trying to find? That's the missing information. So we always assign a variable to it. I'm calling it x. That's it. You got your number. You got it translated, all the words into numbers, and actually you produced an equation just like that. So 2.550 is the same as 2.5 times 65 equals x. Now I'm going to multiply them. I have a calculator here, so I'm going to multiply these two numbers. 2.5 times 65 gives me 162.5 equals x. We box the answer. This is not an application problem, so we cannot really interpret this. Okay. 28 is 25% of what number? Okay, you can pause the video and translate it word by word. Catch up with me. 28 is equals 25%, 0.25 of is multiplication. What number is missing information? I'll call it x again. And I recommend that when you write your decimals, you have a 0.25, so there's no number in front of the point. I recommend that you put a 0 in front of it so it doesn't look like an accidental stroke of the pen. It shows that you intended it to be a decimal. So I recommend that you develop such habits. So 28 equals 0.25 times x. I again prefer the parentheses as opposed to the dot symbol for multiplication, just because we have the decimal dot as well. So it's always good to use parentheses, which will keep it very clean. I need to get x by itself because I'm solving for x. I have to get rid of the 0.25, which means I divide by 0.25 on both sides. Because 0.25 is being multiplied to the x, you undo it by dividing it. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we now use the calculator to do 28 over 0.25. It comes out to be 112 equals x. Okay. You can always check your answers by, plugging them in your statement. So 28 equals 0.25 times, we just got x to be 112. We need to know if this is true. So do 0.25 times 112. It comes out to be 28. So 28 equals 28 is a true statement, which means you come back and box this answer. Okay. We'll look at solve application problems. And it is to do with percents here. Vijay and his wife enjoyed a nice dinner at a restaurant and his bill was $68.50. He wants to leave an 18% tip. If the tip will be 18% of the total bill, how much tip should he leave? Step 1 says to read the problem. We've done this step method in the previous video. So these are 7 steps. Any word problem, we could use these 7 steps to kind of assess what the problem is asking. And so read and reread the problem until you understand it. So we are told that his total bill was $68.50. He wants to leave an 18% tip. And we need to find out how much tip he should leave. 18% gives us only the percentage. It doesn't tell us how much, the amount to leave. And so that is what we're trying to find. So step 2 is to identify what we're looking for. I'll say how much tip Vijay must leave. Step 3 says to name it, because we need to assign a variable to represent it. talking about tips, so I will just say T equals the tip amount. Translate into an equation. Write a sentence that gives the information to find it. This is our step 4. So come back to the question, to the word problem and, scan it. Well, I understand that there is a sentence here that says, the second sentence, or rather the third one, if the tip will be 18% of the total bill, how much tip should he leave? I think that's my big clue. If the tip will be 18% of the total bill. So let's write that. Okay. Tip will be 18% of the total bill. Now I'm going to translate this word by word. The tip is, we don't know what that is, but we have assigned a letter to it, T. Remember, we saw is, was, will be, it all means equals. 18% converted to decimal, so that's 0.18. Again, put a 0 in front of the point, so we know you did intend it. Of is multiplication. The total bill, if you go back to the problem, it says $68.50. All right, now we move to step 5 because it's now turned into a math problem. So we just say T equals 0.18 times 68.50. That comes out to be, I multiplied it here, it comes out to be 12.33. Okay. This is just the mathematical numerical number. We need to see if that is making sense. So let's check this. To check it, I could just use 18% of the total bill, which is $68.50. We're going to get the same thing. We just multiplied it in the previous step. So in order to make more sense, I would rather round the 18% to a 20%. And the total bill, I would rather round it to $70, right? So try doing this on your calculator. So 0.2 of is multiplication. I'm just going to use parentheses. 0.2 times 70 is 14. So we rounded them and we got 14, but the actual answer was 12.33, which is close to the 14. So we did do it right, especially the decimal point, moving it and all that. That's where the error mostly happens. So we know that we got our numbers calculation right. And so we say, yes, it makes sense. Then step 7 is to come back and conclude what this was. Well, we say Vijay must leave $12.33 as tip. Please understand that without interpreting, the 12.33 does not make any sense, right? It could be inches, it could be hours, it could be meters, it could be anything. So it's always important that we attach the unit. We call the dollar symbol as a unit, which is a measurement, right, to the answer. So interpret your answer so we really respond to the word problem. We move to solving simple interest applications. The simple interest formula is I equals PRT, as you can see, where I represents the interest, P the principal. Principal is usually the money that's invested or borrowed. R is the rate, which is usually the annual interest rate, which is a percentage. And T stands for the time, which is the duration of the loan or the investment, whatever you did, in terms of years. So I equals PRT is called the simple interest for the reason that it's a simple formula. And it's calculated in a very simple manner where P, R, and T affect the interest equally. Here's our problem. Jessica deposited $12,500 in her bank account where it will earn 4% interest. How much interest will Jessica earn in 5 years? So let's highlight what we have. She's deposited, so money invested or borrowed is called the principal. So what is deposited is invested. So this is our principal P. So we're basically identifying variables because we understand this is a simple interest problem, which means the formula already exists. You're just trying to identify the variables to plug in the formula. So she will earn 4% interest. In this case, the interest that is received is like an income to Jessica. So she's trying to see how much she will earn for a 4% interest. Well, the 4% interest, that language tells me that this is my R because the percentage indicates that it is the rate, interest rate. Then it says, how much interest will Jessica earn? How much? So how much, that language means it's an amount. The amount is the interest amount, which is your I, right? I is in dollars. That's the interest amount. R is the rate, that is in percentage. And we have the duration to be 5 years, which is your T, because T is the duration of the investment here. All right, so we did read the problem. Now we need to identify what we're looking for. We're looking for how much interest Jessica will earn. Again, step 3, we have to assign a variable, but remember this is a pre-existing formula, so we are not going to create our new variables. We're just going to use the variable appropriate in the simple interest formula, and the amount of interest is the I, which is the amount of interest, I. And step 4 says we need to translate into an equation. In the previous word problem, we had to use common sense to build that equation from the problem, but here it is a predetermined formula. I will simply write I equals P R T. I'm going to plug in for all the ones that we identified. That's 12,500 times R, which is 4%. Remember, that's 2 decimal places to the left. So 4% becomes 0.04 and time is 5 years. So I plug all these in here and I will multiply them all out so that we can get the interest amount. So that's 12,500 times 0.04 times 5. Comes out as 2,500. Okay. So let's go ahead and plug this in as our I. So actually the calculation, all that was done in one shot. So that comes out to be 2,500. Perform the check. Multiply them out. Yes, it makes sense. But you're just basically trying to do 12,500 times 0.04 times 5, which comes out to be 2,500. And then come back here and conclude your answer. You will say, what was the name? Jessica? 724. Jessica will earn $2,500 in interest. I hope that helps. I'll see you in the next video.